Welcome to the Collegiate iRacing League's College Prototype Challenge tonight. From Brazil, we're at Interlagos for the Brazilian Grand Prix, the second to last race of our 14-race calendar this season. And on the line tonight is going to be the championship. Jordan Johnson, our championship leader, is only about 2 points away from clinching the title. So finishing anywhere other than the bottom 2 spots tonight should get him the crown this season over his closest competition, Muhammad Alif. We're going to go through qualifying right now, and you'll see these drivers get ready to hit the track to run their laps. We'll go through that. We'll get through a warm-up session, and then we'll come back out for a 45-minute race around Interlagos. Interesting track conditions tonight. We saw a bit of spray get kicked up during practice from a wet racetrack, but it's not currently raining at the moment. However, as this race goes on, the chance of rain is expected to increase. We should have about a 50% chance of rain by the end of this thing, and you see the spray from the back of Ryan Whitlock as he exits pit road here on his outlap. So some wet conditions on the track, and we'll see, do these drivers start on the wets? Or do they start on the dries because it hasn't rained in at least a good little while now? Be interesting to see how that plays out for them. So Ryan Whitlock will come around, making his qualifying run right here for the University of Alabama, Huntsville. Down now into turns 8 and 9. Little series of hairpins here. They'll spit him back out onto some straightaways. Get the point standings pulled up for you here. Jordan Johnson is the points leader with Muhammad Alif in second and Cale Davidson in third, as Ryan Whitlock goes spinning down the straightaway, heading towards turn 12. Will he pull it back to the pits, or will he continue on? He will pull it back to the pits. So our point standings here tonight, Jordan Johnson comes in with the lead. I believe he only needs 1 or 2 more points to actually clinch and win the title here. Muhammad Alif is second, and they 60 points behind, with Cale Davidson, his teammate, 50 points back in third. Ryan Whitlock, who we just saw spin that car out, comes into this race in fourth. And the number 1 alumni so far is Edwin Onofre, running 5th. Bradley Skinker of Ball State sits 6th in the standings, with Lucas Moody, who we're watching right now, in 7th. Luis Diaz in 8th for FIU. Ben Fiore in 9th for Marist. Hunter Hadesty, 10th for Clemson. And Athena Leclerc, 11th, St. Clair College. I believe also in the field tonight we have Christian Hill, who is sitting 12th. Aiken Lamar, who is sitting 23rd, and Mark Turek, who is sitting in 19th in the point standings for those drivers, respectively. Lucas Moody will go now down through the hairpin. Gonna spit him back out into turn 10. Very much a struggle. He's sliding it through that corner as well. A lot of drivers getting caught out by the kind of partially wet surface that we see here tonight, going through where Whitlock spun, and you see the car is wiggling a little bit even now. Lucas Moody is going to be one of, if not the first driver to get a lap time set down here in qualifying tonight, so he'll come around the final couple bends past pit road, and we'll see where he cycles it here. What's the lap time for Lucas Moody? 1:35.478. So that's the time to beat for everyone else right now, and we'll see them come around. Everyone else behind him to try and beat that. He'll get started on his second lap here as Edwin Onofre jumps him by just 0.02 of a second behind. Cale Davidson, I believe, is going to be the next car to set a lap, followed by Christian Hill. And Cale Davidson's going to jump both of them by 0.3 with a 1:35.113. We'll see how these next couple of drivers get around. We've got cars going around past the line as we speak. And Jordan Johnson is going to put the hammer down on everybody. 2.3 faster than Cale Davidson right now with a 132.785, putting him in a class of his own so far in qualifying. Halfway through, Cale Davidson will head around now. That driver that's currently in second is making his way through turns 6 and 7. Many drivers still yet to set laps. Cale Davidson taking it a little slow, doesn't want to spin the car out in the wet. We're watching on board here with him. Yeah, definitely a bit slippery out of these corners with the weather. Alif goes second, 1.7 back of Jordan Johnson, and a wide exit there from Cale Davidson on his second lap. So Lucas Moody is going to come around to complete his second of 2 laps here in qualifying, and we'll see where he ends up. But I don't believe that lap was any better, so I think he'll stay in last for the time being. Cale Davidson will be the next to come around as Edwin Onofre does not improve on his time either. Cale Davidson across the line. Here comes Jordan Johnson to see if he can put even more of a hurting on the field. Davidson jumps to second, 1.1 back of Johnson's time, but we'll see what Johnson ends up running. He's crossing the line now, going down in turn 1, and he's going to improve to a 132.127, pulling out another, I believe, 0.6 of a second there on Cale Davidson. Christian Hill and Andrew Burrow will set lap times, 4.1 and 4.2 back, respectively, and Bradley Skinker of Ball State jumps up to second, which, if that holds, would easily be his best qualifying spot of the season, 1.7 back of Jordan Johnson. Our Muhammad Alif will come around. We've seen him on the front row in many races this year, but he was missing last week, started in third. He'll come across the line, and he will take second, 0.3 back. Pretty easily the second best lap anyone's had, and Ryan Whitlock will cross right behind him, 1.1 back of Jordan Johnson. Inserting himself into third, Bradley Skinker will come around to complete his next lap. That's the car that is currently wasn't fourth, has just gotten pushed to fifth, with Ben Fiore of Maris setting a time to get him to fourth. And Lucas Moody, Bradley Skinker's teammate, is going to jump him by 3 thousandths. And now Onofre with a huge lap to put himself into third. And we got another one, Cale Davidson to second. Big shifts here in these last 30 seconds in qualifying has pushed Bradley Skinker all the way from second on the board down to 8th, maybe as a result of some track drying that we've got going on here. And we'll see where Bradley Skinker crosses now. And he'll push up to 4th, so he'll get around to Onofre. Improve on that time. Aiken Lamar, meanwhile, has put it in 11th. It's Edwin Onofre coming around to complete another lap. He's pushed it up to 5th. We'll see if he can push it any higher. Be a pretty good starting spot for him. He's one of only a couple alumni in the field tonight, and he is almost guaranteed the alumni championship, I believe. In fact, he is guaranteed the alumni championship. So he is your alumni series winner. Clinched it about 3 races early over Hunter Hadesty and Andrew Burrell. And he'll come around here through the final series of bends, and we'll see what he can do tonight. And he will pull it into the pit, so maybe out of laps there for Edwin Onofre. Still got one car going around. It's Andrew Burrell. I'm not sure if he has any laps left. However, we will see. I'm actually not sure if he's even going to make it back around to the line in time because he's only on that back straight. But in terms of championship battles, Jordan Johnson really only needs to finish, I believe, above 9th or 10th to clinch the title over our Muhammad Alif. And that retains true for most of the student standings. Kent State, he probably needs to finish about above 7th or 8th in order to lock up the school championship for Kent State in the student class. Edwin Onofre, your alumni winner this season, But the battle for Alumni School Championship is still really close. Clemson currently leading by 12 points over Edwin Onofre and the University of North Texas. So a bit of a lead for him, but one that could very, very easily be swung with a good race tonight for Onofre. So as we wrap up qualifying here, we'll work on getting those results put up for you as we head into the warm-up session. And on pole for this race will be Kent State's Jordan Johnson, en route to locking up the championship here this race. Starting to his outside will be R. Muhammad Ali from Ball State. His teammate Cale Davison will take third, while Ben Fiore gets a really good qualifying spot, putting himself in fourth. Bradley Skinker will take fifth, with the alumni champion Edwin Onofre from the University of North Texas in sixth. Ryan Whitlock from Alabama Huntsville rolls off seventh, while Lucas Moody will sit to his outside in eighth. Last of the four Ball State cars, and Andrew Burrell of Clemson will roll off ninth, with Christian Hill, a bit of a late entrant to this race, on the outside in 10th. Aiken Lamar will roll off 11th, and Mark Turek in 12th did not set a lap in qualifying. So as this warm-up session gets underway, 5 more minutes for these drivers to make any changes they need to make, feel out the track, decide on if they're going to try and do anything to the tires here. You see the spray no longer coming out the back of R. Muhammad Ali. But the rain has started as I say that. So he comes around the final corner. The spray was almost completely eliminated for most of that qualifying lap, but now it's going to rain. So with just 3 minutes left before the race starts, the rain has started, and everything that these drivers learned in that practice and in this qualifying about the track drying might get ripped up and thrown out the window here, heading to the grid. Wow. Yeah, the rain setting in. Only about a 20% chance right now at this stage in the race, but as we get further through, heading into later stages, the chance of rain is set to increase pretty substantially towards the end of the race. So if it's already raining now, maybe a good chance for the rain to continue going forwards. I wouldn't know if we'll make it around that spray that we saw. It's only going to get stronger as these cars go around in the rain tonight. And he'll try actually a bit of an overtake here on Christian Hill. You don't see many of those in warm-up, but he's going for the battle. Maybe learning how this car passes in the rain, side by side with Christian Hill, who almost drives into the pit wall there with how low he's getting on that track. And they'll head into turn 1, and Onofre almost off the racetrack with a little bit of a practice battle with Christian Hill. They'll both come down the track right here. Gonna try a bit of a send up the inside, but he's not close enough to actually do anything. There are 1 minute remaining in the warm-up session on this battle with Onofre and Hill. The rain continues to fall, which is only going to make this more and more treacherous. I mean, you see parts of this racetrack where the spray was almost completely gone. The track was almost completely dry. And now the rain is returning to the bend. And now they're going to have to learn to drive for the wedding. So now, with 9 seconds left in the warm-up, Onofre couldn't make his way around Christian Hill. So that'll bring an end to this. He's almost sending it. He is sending it pretty much off the racetrack there. Down the straightaway. Trying to find the limits of this car and this track. So we will see how this shakes out. With the rain being introduced just minutes before the start of the race. As mentioned, Jordan Johnson will start on pole with Muhammad Alif of Ball State in second. Those drivers basically locked up 1-2 in the championship. They're 1-2 again on the grid tonight. It's Cale Davidson of Ball State in third, with Ben Fiore of Marist in fourth, Bradley Skinker of Ball State in fifth, and Edwin Onofre, the alumni winner from the University of North Texas, in sixth. Ryan Whitlock from University of Alabama Huntsville in seventh, and Lucas Moody of Ball State University will roll off eighth for that great wall of Ball State. Clemson's Andrew Burrow will be ninth tonight, with Christian Hill of Mount St. Mary's rolling off 10th. Aiken Lamar of the Howard Community College will roll off 11th, and Mark Turek of PCT will roll off in 12th tonight. And that's our grid for the Grand Prix of Brazil in the rain at Interlagos. See that rain fall as these cars get ready to take to the grid tonight. And they roll off. It's Jordan Johnson and it's Muhammad Alif. We will see how this shakes out with the rain that's just started to fall only minutes ago. Had a wet track in practice, but it was one that was drying. Now we have a wet track, but it's one that's getting even more wet as they go. So a bit of a reversal from the practice, from the qualifying, and from most of the warm-up. How will these drivers handle this down, not just into turn one, but for the whole race? We've seen in our rain races this season, they can get really chaotic. Watkins Glen, we only saw 4 finishers out of about 15 entrants. Fuji, we saw a bunch of cars spin out in the same couple corners. These drivers really struggle through the hard braking zones, especially in the rain. We've seen that come into play multiple times in our wet races this season. Now, both races we had rain so far this year. It was scheduled. The drivers knew in advance that the track would be wet for that race. That's not the case tonight. We've left this up to iRacing's forecasted weather feature. It's come back with a drizzle tonight at Interlagos, and these drivers had no idea it was coming, with only a 20% chance of rain in the forecast. We're getting ready to go green. The pace car is going to pull off here for Jordan Johnson. They'll come around through the final little turn. The pace car is in. Jordan Johnson is all the way on the pit entry line, following it around. And they're 2x2, except for Mark Turek. Jordan Johnson's going to lead them to the line, and they are off here tonight at Interlagos, down into turn one. It's a huge jump for Jordan Johnson, and a good one for Ben Fiore, too, trying to send it up the inside. Can't get there. Maybe a little contact with Cale Davidson there. Ben Fiore following along in fourth. We're side by side behind. We've got Skinker and Onofre going at it. We're battling further back. Ryan Whitlock and Christian Hill are next to each other as well. So multiple side-by-side battles coming down into here. Whitlock will get the run on Christian Hill. He tries to get it on Lucas Moody, but he doesn't quite have enough speed to make it happen. And Ryan Whitlock will stay into 8th for now, working on Lucas Moody. He won't get there. Ben Fiore is your 4th place car behind the 2 Ball State cars, Jordan Johnson, and ahead of the other Ball State car, Bradley Skinker. Fiore and Onofre, the cars interrupting the Ball State dominance that we see oftentimes in this series. Ben Fiore heading down into turn 10. They'll cut back into turn 11 for that Marist College machine. Keeping pretty good pace with these Ball State cars so far in the early going. Haven't seen any accidents yet from the field, but a bit of a gap is starting to form there between 5th place Bradley Skinker and 6th place Edwin Onofre. Is holding a pretty steady line of cars behind him all the way back to Andrew Burrow in 10th. And Fiore bringing it around here down the straightaway. Cale Davidson was looking inside of R. Muhammad Alif there, but wasn't really close enough to actually attempt anything. So we'll stay in line there, and Ryan Whitlock has pulled a big move into turn 1. He'll pass Lucas Moody, moving himself up into 7th and getting himself closer to the back bumper of Edwin Onofre, who with a little wiggle through turn 3 is going to give Whitlock the chance to get alongside down the straightaway into turn 4. We're side by side. Moody's behind, waiting to see if he can make something happen. But Ryan Whitlock is going to make the pass on the outside of turn 4 to get the spot on Edwin Onofre, and we're side by side behind as Christian Hill gets around Lucas Moody through turn 5. So Christian Hill up to 8th. Ryan Whitlock, who started a little further back, has made a couple overtakes, and he's charged up to 6th. And a bad entry for Onofre is going to give Christian Hill the chance to get under him. Hill wiggles and almost makes contact there with Onofre, and it'll drop him back closer to the clutches of Lucas Moody, who's running 9th. Ryan Whitlock trying to get away, but he's already lost 6 seconds to that lead group that's being anchored by Bradley Skinker in 5th. 3 packs kind of forming. You got the top 5, Johnson through Skinker. You've got a Whitlock through Burrell back there, 6th and 10th. And then you've got Turek and Lamar kind of out back by themselves in the bottom 2. Those 2 drivers outside the points positions. So it's Edwin Onofre running 7th after getting passed by Ryan Whitlock. Closed it up a little on corner entry, but he's not close enough to actually make anything happen there. Heading down through turns 2 and into turn 3. Johnson and Alif have already pulled away from Cale Davidson, but Ben Fiore is kind of holding tight there to that 3rd place car, with Bradley Skinker staying on his bumper. Not a lot of separation between those drivers. We might have battled for 8th here further back. Christian Hill is right on the bumper of Edwin Onofre. A couple battles all over this racetrack here. Well, the interval was saying he was side by side, but it seems he is not actually side by side. So we're going to see Christian Hill go around here in 8th. Ben Fiore is 4th right there. Oh, he's having some lag issues that surely are not helping his case. Cale Davidson is running 3rd. You see him head through the final couple corners back out onto the straightaway. There's 2 turns on that last straightaway, but it's basically a flat-out section with just a little bit of a turn in between them. It's a turn of the wheel, but it's not much of a corner going through there. And he'll be chased by Ben Fiore through that segment, who you see lagging out of the session momentarily behind him, in what is surely a scary thing for Davidson to see in his rearview mirror, especially as Fiore makes up time on these cars. Like I said, battles all over the racetrack. These cars haven't been able to get too separated yet in the 5 minutes that we've ran in this race. Fiore is all over Davidson. Alif is still right behind Johnson. Onofre is on Whitlock. That entire last, 10 cars is still right next to each other, fighting for position. And Ben Fiore is closing the gap a little on Cale Davidson. He's not yet close enough to actually make anything happen. He'll head through here. Cut back. Turns 9 and 10. Still close, not close enough to actually make a move occur. Christian Hill, you see those raindrops on his windshield as we go on board with him is under threat. From Ball State's Lucas Moody, who's running 9th. One of his worst runs of the season so far this race. Didn't qualify well. Isn't running well. He'll be looking to make up some positions. And Bradley Skinker is slow. He had a bit of a problem there. And it looks like Andrew Burrell's just crashed. Yeah, he's crashed back there at 11. Had a spin going through turn 12 and lost a bunch of spots. We're side by side for 3rd. It's Ben Fiore on Cale Davidson, and Fiore will back out, doesn't want to force the issue through turn 2, and he will give Cale Davidson the position for the time being. But I think Fiore is a little faster, especially with Cale Davidson already falling 6 seconds back from second place Mohammed Alif. Christian Hill is your 9th place car here after getting passed by Lucas Moody of Ball State. Leafy is the second highest alumni in the field behind Edwin Onofre tonight, and ahead of Mark Turek and Burrell. We're going to get a replay of that Andrew Burrell accident. Or no, we'll get a replay of the Skinker spin, so we'll see what happened to Bradley Skinker. I think we already might have seen him around before that. Yeah, there he goes. Spins it out, heading through the hairpin, and almost takes out Ryan Whitlock as well. Scary accident there from Bradley Skinker. Nearly multiple cars involved in a spin. I mean, that's not what you want in a rejoin. I get it's wet, but scary moment for a couple cars. We'll see Burrell spin here. Yeah, just locks it under braking. Hits the curb, goes around. That's Andrew Burrell back to 11th, promoting Mark Turek to 10th place in the final pole spot for now. Our battle for the lead is still raging. We've got one for third, too. Ben Fiore is caught right back up to Cale Davidson, who has to be running at least 2 seconds a lap slower than second place Muhammad Alif. Fiore and Whitlock both appear to be faster than him, and I think, honestly, Onofre and Skinker might be as well with how much they're closing. He's kind of sandbagging that entire pack, and he's off the track there. Slow, nearly spinning it out. Ben Fiore will get to his outside, heading down to turn 6, but he can't make it happen. He'll stay behind him, looking through turn 7, but he won't be able to make a move. Still all over the back bumper of Cale Davidson. Ben Fiore wants that third place spot, and I think Cale Davidson is holding him up a little bit because it's allowing Ryan Whitlock in that 5th position catch up rapidly to those 2 cars that Onofre and Skinker are coming with him right now. Ben Fiore is going to head back down the straightaway. He might push a little here, try to get Cale Davidson under his grasp. We'll see. He's trailing him. Everybody using every inch of that track they can, running all the way down on the pit road entry, and a move is going to be made to the outside for third. Ben Fiore to the outside of Cale Davidson for third, but he won't be able to make it happen. He'll have to pull back into line again, and the battle will keep raging for that position, especially now that Ryan Whitlock and Edwin Onofre have inserted themselves into this fight as well. This is going to be an interesting battle, not just for third, but for seemingly every position in the top 5 heading around right now. So every car back to Bradley Skinker appears to be faster than Cale Davidson at this moment in time. And Aiken Lamar has just crashed. He is stopped in turn 13, or remember, he stopped in turn 3. Has it rolling again now. It took him about 15 seconds to get it out, though. Ben Fiore still on the bumper of Cale Davidson third. And he is lagging out of the session. He'll come back there. Ryan Whitlock is still all over the bumper of both of these cars, really. He's gained a lot of time over the last few laps to try and make this happen, especially with Cale Davidson kind of sandbagging this whole line up in front. And Ben Fiore unable to make the overtake occur. Battle will stay fierce. Cale Davidson continues to drop. It feels like seconds a lap to some of these guys. And it won't happen. Now, pit strategy is going to play a role in this. Most drivers only need one stop. You take one stop, you take fuel only, and you're good. That's how we've seen it in this series this year. But last time we had a rain race was at Fuji, and we saw Clemson's Andrew Burrell not stop the entire race. I believe it's the only time anyone's managed to pull off a 0 stop all season, and he brought it home 5th as a result. Will we see someone try that here today? It's a rain race similar to Fuji. It's kind of similar weather conditions to that track, and I wonder if it's possible for someone to save all that gas, jump a bunch of cars who pit for fuel and get some good spots. Ben Fiore still in 4th, following Cale Davidson around. We have a battle for the lead going on here right now, too. Our Muhammad Alif is caught way up to Jordan Johnson, and he's right on the bumper, heading down the straightaway. We'll see this develop. We've got about 2 battles going on at the same time here across this racetrack. Really good racing going on. I mean, top 2 are going at it. 3rd and 4th are going at it. 5th and 6th are going at it. Battles everywhere right now. A lot of drivers in this pack. These top 2 have absolutely pulled away. Alif is currently 14 seconds out in front of Cale Davidson. And Ryan Whitlock's pulled it into the pits. So our first pit stop in tonight's race, occurring way earlier than you might expect, is going to be Ryan Whitlock from the University of Alabama, Huntsville. We're going to see what he does there, what his strategy is. It's our Muhammad Alif in 2nd, heading down this straightaway towards turns 6 and 7. Whitlock's going to be on the undercut here. I think maybe realizing he's going to struggle to get around Davidson and Fiore. He knows he's faster than both of them. Might as well pull it into the pits and try to make something happen there on a pit strategy call versus trying to force his way around the 2 of them on the racetrack. Our Muhammad Alif stays glued behind Jordan Johnson for now, as Cale Davidson still under threat from Ben Fiore, who's been stuck back there for about 10 minutes now, but hasn't been able to actually get the overtake to occur at any point. See this develop again here. He's got a lot of chances down into turn 1, but he hasn't actually been able to make any of them stick yet. Muhammad Alif still trailing Jordan Johnson in that 2nd position. One thing that's going to be interesting with these 2 cars, we've seen it a couple times this year coming into play, is going to be these pit stops, where our Muhammad Alif has been pretty universally slower on the stop than Jordan Johnson, where we've seen them battle through the early stages of the race. Alif will come into pit, Johnson will come into pit, and he'll suddenly come out about 5 seconds ahead. Pretty likely that we'll see that come into play here too. It'll be interesting to see if Alif can maybe get a better pit stop to maybe make something happen here. Try to take this lead away if he can't do it under green. Checking this out. On board with Alif down through that hairpin. He is all over the back bumper of Jordan Johnson. He has been for about 10 minutes. Hasn't been able to make the move happen. Still head back down the straightaway here. Muhammad Alif still in tow of Jordan Johnson. He's losing time down the straightaway. He's not close enough to get anything going on. Oh! Jordan Johnson gets a little loose, and Alif has to back all the way off to avoid running over his rear bumper there. Really close call for both these cars. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen them collide. It wouldn't even be the second time we've seen them collide battling for the lead this season out in front of a race. But they are trashing the field right now at Interlagos. Heading back down into through 5 into 6 and 7 here for these 2 racers. Alif, I mean, he might be the faster car, but to show that, you got to get around him. It's a similar thing to what's happening with Ben Fiore in 4th. He might be faster, but he can't make the overtake happen. And just like Alif, he's stuck back there behind what is probably a slower car, except it's Cale Davidson in his case instead of Jordan Johnson. I mean, he's looking a little to the outside, trying to get off line, see if that'll help him. It isn't. Ben Fiore in that Acura is just stuck in that 3rd position, and he's been slowed up so much that Edwin Anoka is caught up to the battle as well. We saw him multiple seconds back, but now he's right on the tail of that car in 5th. I wonder if any of these cars that we side by side for the lead. Muhammad Alif is sent to the outside. Jordan Johnson stays there through 1, has to back out through 2, and for now, Jordan Johnson will hold it. They'll come down the straightaway. Alif's right on the corner, and he'll get straight back to the outside, down into 4. Let's see what Muhammad Alif can do. Try and steal the lead of this race away from Jordan Johnson. They're side by side into 4. He pulls the crossover on Jordan Johnson. Down the inside through 5. Can he do it again into 6? No. Johnson will pull away for now, and Jordan Johnson will retain the lead of this race. And Cale Davidson's gone back to 5th. Ben Fiore and Edwin Onofre have both finally found their way around. A mistake from Cale Davidson leads him to give up that spot, and he'll go from a podium position all the way back to 5th. And with how much faster Fiore and Onofre seem, they might be able to get away. Back with this battle for the lead, it's Muhammad Alif still going on Jordan Johnson. Alif's a bit too far back down this straightaway to actually make anything happen into turn 1 right now. Been a surprisingly clean race so far. We've seen a couple spins. We had Skinker go around, we had Burrow go around, and I believe we had a crash from Aiken Lamar. It's about all that we've had so far this race. We're gonna get a replay of Cale Davidson dropping those 2 spots here since we were watching the battle for the lead. And he's on the inside. It's going to be into turn 1. Fiore on the outside with Onofre behind him. And a power move there from Ben Fiore. He gets him. And then Edwin Onofre was able to find his way around here about a second later to get that spot as well. Yeah, bad corner exit for Davidson. Onofre pounced. And within a series of corners there, Cale Davidson drops all the way from 3rd back to 5th. Not at all what he wanted, and it's leaving a spot open for his teammate Bradley Skinker. Did Lucas Moody just spin out? I think Lucas Moody just spun out. He's dropped about 10 seconds. Oh, he's coming to the pits, maybe. Okay. Cool, so Lucas Moody's come into the pits. He's going to make that undercut in a similar style to Ryan Whitlock. It's about 15 back there. Cale Davidson going around. Seen him losing that ground on his teammate Bradley Skinker, who's running 6th, is maybe hoping to recover from a spin that he had earlier this race. Alif is still tailing Jordan Johnson for that 1st position. He was side by side for a little, but he wasn't able to make the overtake happen, and Jordan Johnson stays in the lead for now. If Jordan Johnson really finishes any positions at all ahead of Muhammad Alif tonight, he wins the title. I believe for Jordan Johnson to not win the title after tonight's race, Muhammad Alif would need to win, and Jordan Johnson would need to finish dead last. So that's the point situation right now. And Jordan Johnson's currently leading the race, but Muhammad Alif will send one up the inside, won't make it happen, and will have to back out. Aiken Lamar is just spun from last. I believe he was right around Ryan Whitlock when that happened, so maybe a crisis averted there for him. Jordan Johnson still going down into turn 10 here. Muhammad Alif not able to make an overtake for about the 15th straight minute. He's still there, still on the bumper, still trying to pressure Johnson into doing something stupid. But the battle for 3rd is going to brew here too, with Edwin Onofre all over the back of Ben Fiore from Maris. That'll continue. That battle will continue as well here. And you'll see this down through the same set of corners we just watched Alif and Johnson go through. This battle is going on about 17 seconds back of that lead fight, by the way. Jordan Johnson and Muhammad Alif put a hammer on the field. Onofre has to get off the gas a little there to avoid running into the back of Ben Fiore, which is going to give him a pretty big loss down this straightaway. You want to have as much speed heading onto here as possible. He'll look inside, but he's not close enough to do it unless he takes a send, which you'd think better of at this stage in the race. Cale Davidson's still hanging out not too far behind in 5th, and you see his teammate Bradley Skaker kind of lurking in the background. They're in 6th as well. They're still going for 3rd, and we'll cut back to the fight for the lead with our Muhammad Alif looking on Jordan Johnson. I mean, he's been on that bumper for what, like 17, 18 minutes now? He's still there. Johnson hasn't been able to pull away at all, but Alif hasn't been able to actually make a move happen. They've been running nearly identical lap times. He'll look to the inside. Looked like he maybe got a little alongside, but backed out. Didn't want to force anything. We've seen these cars make a little contact so far. I mean, I believe it was either last week or the week before. It was, I believe, the week before where Jordan Johnson crashed into our Muhammad Alif, went on, won the race, but was given a 10-second time penalty for the accident that allowed Alif to go out and take the win in that one. Jordan Johnson extended his win streak last night. He has, what, 9 out of the 12 races this season, with our Muhammad Alif winning the other 2, including the race where he had a time penalty and a race that he did not show up to as he was on spring break. Our other win this season going to Athena Leclerc, who is not in the field tonight after Jordan Johnson crashed out in the rain at Watkins Glen. Our Muhammad Alif is here in 2nd still, through the halfway point of this race. Now he's still fighting. He's still on the tail of that Kent State car. Still looking for that spot. It's our Muhammad Alif. He'll get another chance here down the straightaway. We'll see if he can get a good run. All in the tire tracks. You see the spray has really increased over the course of this race due to the rain on the racetrack. And they'll head down into here. He'll pull it up the inside for our Muhammad Alif. There's a bit of contact there. They stay side by side, and Jordan Johnson will get it on the switchback to the inside through turn 2, and heading towards 20 minutes left in the race, he will hold the lead for now over our Muhammad Alif. And the battle continues on for the lead of this race. We'll get a replay of that coming up for you, that attempted pass for the lead for our Muhammad Alif that didn't quite work out for him. He had a really good chance here. He put it straight up the inside. Huge send. Slammed into the side of Jordan Johnson there, and Johnson was able to get it back on the inside, keep going, and drive away with it. So we're back live, and you'll see him still testing the corner of that Jordan Johnson car. He'll pull it up the inside again. Our Muhammad Alif going for it one more time through turns 9 and 10, or 10 and 11, excuse me. He'll go, but he'll get forced out again through 11, and he'll have to stay behind through 12. Now, looking a little bit up the racetrack, about 8 or 9 seconds up the racetrack, these two cars might end up running into some lap traffic with the lap car of Aiken Lamar, who's about 8 seconds ahead of them, and if he stays on the track for another second or two, or for another lap or two without any pit stops or anything, they might catch him pretty quickly. So that's something to keep an eye on. Maybe using that lap car and how he might play a role in this fight coming up. With 18.5 minutes left to go in this race. Edwin Onofre's passed Ben Fiore for 3rd. We'll get a replay of that one for you soon here. That car has moved up into the podium position. Our CIL alumni champion for the College Prototype Challenge has made the move there. And look at that, yeah. Ben Fiore with a mistake. He goes wide. It allows Onofre to get up side by side with him, and he's able to pull it away on the outside through that next corner. So a big move for Edwin Onofre will move himself up into third. Let's see how this goes. So looking towards the season championship battle that we have going on right here, this prize money in this series for, I believe, the first time we ran this series, and it's also the first time we have prize money. So Jordan Johnson will get $50 taking the win of this. Alif is in second, we get 30. But these battles further down for these positions are going to play a big role. I mean, you see Christian Hill, as Alif tries to go for it, but he can't make it happen. Christian Hill is running 7th tonight. He's currently just outside the points with a couple drivers not showing up. It'll push Christian Hill up into the top 10, which will give him about $5 for his troubles this season. Ben Fiore also looking to move up, maybe take 4th or 5th in the title. Get himself a little extra money. As Muhammad Alif sent it side by side, but he can't get it. And Jordan Johnson will again hold the lead for now. 16 minutes left in this race, and they are still going at it for position. I mean, we'll try and get a replay of that try here. Leaf's gonna send it up the inside. I mean, he's stayed behind so often. I was thinking he was just gonna stay there, but he pulls a huge send on Jordan Johnson. Gets it for a second, but he goes so far wide out that he can't get it to happen. And he'll stay behind for now. He'll stay on the bumper through turn 1. He'll head down here through turn 3 down the straightaway, and that lapped car is going to be Aiken Lamar, and he will just get out of the way here to avoid causing any trouble in this fight for the lead. He'll pull it off into that kind of pit lane. So Muhammad Alif stays on the tail. Jordan Johnson. 15 minutes to go in this race. We've seen a couple drivers pit, but I think a lot of drivers are still yet to make that stop, and it's a stop that we think will be required. We've seen cars stretch it in the rain here, but it's very, very close, and I don't quite think that it's going to work out tonight for some of these cars, but we'll see how it plays out as Muhammad Alif is still there. Jordan Johnson getting a bit swervy off that corner, but he's able to hold the lead and keep that pull away intact. Alif will get another chance down the straightaway. Alif still looking. 14 minutes to go. The clock continues to tick down on this race, on this battle. What'll he do? Maybe the pit stop will be a chance for him to make a move. Maybe he'll try another send into turn 3 or turn 4. Not going to happen here. But it wouldn't surprise me at this point, because you've seen him get a little more aggressive as this clock has ticked down, as these laps have winded down. Try and make something happen here. Rain is starting to lighten maybe a little bit. We were kind of in cloud cover before, but the sun is starting to peek through the clouds. still raining for the time being as Leaf sends it up the inside on Jordan Johnson again. But Johnson with a huge run on the outside, he can't get him around. We'll see if that sun coming out maybe signals a bit of a lightening of the rain and helps some of these drivers in less wet conditions. We'll see if these lap times are able to come down at all as a result of that. Johnson stays there. Back down through turns 2 and 3. Still fighting. I mean, Lee's been right behind him for what, like more than 25 minutes now. He's made a couple sends. He started to make about a send a lap, it feels like, on Jordan Johnson, but he hasn't been able to actually do it yet. Back down through the slowest part of the racetrack, turn 8 through 11 here, the series of tight corners and hairpins. He's looking to the outside, maybe get a bit less spray, a bit more vision, a bit of a line. He'll look to the inside again through turn 10. Can he actually do it this time? They're still side by side. Johnson doesn't get as good of a run. A Leaf to the outside of 11, and he is stuck behind once again. He still can't make it happen. And our Muhammad Alif, we're running out of laps left in this race. He'll stay behind Jordan Johnson. Still the inside. Jordan Johnson with a bit of a mistake there, and Alif has gotten alongside, and he's trying to muscle him out there, making contact through turn 3, and Jordan Johnson will still hold the spot. Another great defense from him. You see Alif is starting to get a little more desperate. What was just kind of cautionary driving before is turning into huge sends, trying to make moves happen. Like, he's trying to body him, muscle him, get that contact. Can't make it happen. And he'll send it up the inside again. But he's forced to the outside through the next hairpin. He's still kind of hanging on there. They're still side by side. We hit 10 minutes to go in the race. And Alif might get him here. Back up the inside into 10. And our Muhammad Alif, after half an hour of trying, has taken the lead over Jordan Johnson, and he will take the lead of this race for the first time, and he'll try to bring it around to lead his first lap of the race here as we cross 10 minutes to go tonight. But Jordan Johnson's right back on the outside. Who's going to lead the lap? I'm not sure. They're side by side across the line. Belief will get him into turn 1 for now. Jordan Johnson sending it back. Can't get it. Alif holds the lead. To the inside. Looking, but he can't get there. He's not close enough. Jordan Johnson still lurking in second. And Alif starting to pull away now. You saw that gap that was there. It's opened dramatically, and Alif is starting to get away from Johnson. He was all over his bumper for most of this race, but he's opened up about a second gap since taking that lead. We'll see if he's able to actually maybe pull away a bit to win this race tonight over Jordan Johnson. And with that battle finally settled after a solid half hour of competition, we'll look back here at the battle for the 5th between two of Alif's teammates of Ball State. Bradley Skinker and Cale Davidson for 5th and 6th. I'm wondering if pit stops might not end up being necessary. I mean, we mentioned the rain race earlier this year where these drivers did not pit at all. Not a lot of cars have pit this race. Whitlock has come down. I believe Moody has also come down. Burl and Lamar, those bottom 4 cars have come down, but everyone in front of them has stayed out. And Cale Davidson is under threat from Bradley Skinker, his teammate. Davidson, we saw in the podium early on, but he's dropped back. We just had a pass for 3rd. Ben Fiore's gotten around Edwin Onofre for 3rd position. Did Onofre just pull it into the pits? He did. Edwin Onofre's made a pit stop. So he'll pull that car down pit road. Hasn't updated yet, but he's in the pit box right now. He'll come out, should cycle around about 8th or 9th, depending on where he comes back in relation to Lucas Moody. He doesn't think he can make it to the end of the race. He'll make that stop now, when the leaders are about to hit lap traffic with Aiken Lamar. We'll see how that shakes out. Bradley Skinker still being hounded by, looks like now it's still Cale Davidson there. As 2 more cars have pit, or one more car is pit. Christian Hill is pit, and I believe Mark Turek is also pit as well. So the top 5 have not pit. It's Leaf, Johnson, Fiore, Davidson, and Skinker. Everyone else has pulled it into the pit lane at some point this race. Watching Cale Davidson right now with Bradley Skinker right behind him, and Muhammad Alif has pit. So Alif into the pit lane to get fuel, and now we're going to see what happens. So as I mentioned earlier this race, Jordan Johnson has consistently been multiple seconds faster on the pit stops than Alif has. Can he get him here? That's the question. We know Johnson has to pit. Alif taking pretty much as little fuel as possible there to getting it back out. Johnson has to pit. Will he be able to send it out in front of Alif, who is only about a second behind? I don't think he actually has the faster car, but with a good pit stop, he might be able to make it happen. So we'll see Skinker stay out here along with Cale Davidson, so they'll both run another lap. That's the lap car of Andrew Burl of Clemson behind both of them. He had a really long pit stop earlier in the race. Sat on pit road for a while. That's put him back outside the points in 11th with Mark Turek in 10th, currently the last point spot in this race. So Jordan Johnson's going to come around turn 12 and 13 here, and we're going to keep an eye on whether or not he pits this lap. Alif is the only car in the top 5 who has pit. Everyone behind them has not. And Jordan Johnson will bring it into the pit, so he'll make that pit stop, and now all eyes are on Muhammad Alif, who's got what looks like 17 seconds to come around and try to pass Jordan Johnson. How will this shake out? He's coming onto the straightaway now. He's going to be coming through that final kink, turn 15, heading down the straightaway towards Johnson, who's got the first pit stall, facing out towards turn 1. You see Johnson coming out of the pits right there. Here's Alif. Where are they going to come out? Oh, this is a race. You see Alif on the outside there. Johnson's flooring it out of the pit lane, but he's not going to get there. Muhammad Alif comes out in the lead of this race, and with 4 laps to go, it might be his race to lose. Ben Fiore has pit. Cale Davidson and Bradley Skinker will both stay out for the time being in 3rd and 4th. Edwin Onofre is on that rear bumper of those 2 cars in 5th. He has pit. He will cycle around to the podium once this ends out. So a great result for Edwin Onofre tonight, who's already clinched the Alumni Championship and is going to add some points to try and claim the school Alumni Championship for University of North Texas. Fastest lap of the race just ran by Ryan Whitlock on about 41 minutes into it now. Muhammad Alif 1 second ahead of Jordan Johnson at the moment. We'll see how this goes. Edwin Onofre is on that bumper. I think he's not only a faster car, but he has pit while these other 2 cars haven't. So he's come out ahead of Ben Fiore by a pretty substantial amount. So once Davidson and Skinker pull it into the pits, we're going to see Edwin Onofre take third back. I believe Fiore will take fourth, and Davidson and Skinker will come out fifth and sixth, as Muhammad Alif has just set the fastest lap in tonight's race. With 3 to go, he's trying to pull away from Jordan Johnson. You see these cars in front of Edwin Onofre hit here in this lap. Davidson and Skinker were watching. Davidson will stay out, but Skinker will not. So Cale Davidson's the only car who has not made a pit stop yet this race. That'll push Onofre up to fourth for the time being. And once Davidson does make that pit stop, Onofre will get onto the podium here for, I believe, maybe only his first or second podium of the season, but another alumni win in the books. He won't even do it on pit road. He'll just pass him on the straightaway. Edwin Onofre powers through to get himself back on the podium. And I don't know how well this long strategy is going to be working for Cale Davidson. Because the pit stop loses you about 18 seconds, it looks like. He might end up dropping not just behind Fiore, but behind Moody and Whitlock, and potentially Bradley Skinker as well, to cycle out all the way back in 8th. So the late pit stop may be spelling a bit of trouble for this Ball State crowd with 2 minutes left to go in the race. Skinker's right behind Whitlock. He's trying to gain on him. We'll see if that battle comes to fruition for that 8th place position. It's Lucas Moody on the bumper of Ben Fiore right now. They're looking for a spot. Muhammad Ali continuing to pull ahead of this race. Not a lot of time left in this race. Either 2 or 3 laps to go, depending on how much time we end up having at the line. So Lucas Moody will come around here. Down the straightaway. Nearly an accident. Cale Davidson got really loose up in front of him. I think Cale Davidson is trying the Clemson strat that we saw at Zandvoort, which is don't pit at all. Spend the last couple laps desperately saving fuel like your life depends on it, and hope you end up with a better position than you would have gotten otherwise. And we're seeing that happen right now, because his bar is going to be Bradley Skinker for 8th. They're going to come around here. I'm going to take a look at the flag man before they come around here. And the white flag is in the air for Muhammad Alif. It's the last lap of the race for that driver. Jordan Johnson is in second. He's got one more chance to try and pull it back up and make something happen. And Edwin Onofre is 35 seconds back, so he's not going to play a factor in this finale. It's going to be these top 2 cars. Can Jordan Johnson get something to happen? Will Alif maybe make a mistake? How will this shake out? Alif's faster, it looks like. He is trying to get away. We're heading down through turn 6 here, and he's staying at least steady in that lead. It was 9/10 earlier in the lap. He's got it back over a second. Kind of coming back down now. Johnson is not gaining the time that he would need, and Cale Davidson has pulled it into the pits. So he tried to make it all the way, realized it might not work, and he's had to pull it in on the last lap of the race to get exactly 1 lap of fuel, and it'll put him all the way back to 8th. Trouble for Cale Davidson there. Might actually put him back to 9th, because he might get passed by Christian Hill. Or Muhammad Alif is going to go through turn 13, and he'll come out onto the straightaway. He's blasting it down here. Muhammad Alif will come around. He's finally beat Jordan Johnson at his own game. Muhammad Alif will come around to take the checkered flag tonight at Interlagos with Jordan Johnson in second. And now we're going to have to wait about 30 seconds for Edwin Onofre to pass in third. We've got a battle for 4th between Ben Fiore and Lucas Moody. Fiore in that 4th spot after Cale Davidson had to make that untimely pit stop and go all the way back to 10th. Edwin Onofre will come around now to take a pretty clean 3rd position, but Muhammad Alif will win the race. Ben Fiore heading through this final set of corners is looking like he'll take 4th. and that'll punch Lucas Moody in the 5th position tonight, with Ryan Whitlock trailing not too far behind there in 6th. You'll see him come into that spot. Bradley Skinker will be the next car across in 7th. And then we'll watch the part-time driver Christian Hill for Mount St. Mary's, who I think might have just moved himself up into the top 10 in points in this race, into a prize money for him at the end of the series, potentially. He'll get 8th. Mark Turek gets his first points in what feels like a little while in this series. He'll get 9th. And a strategy gone wrong for Cale Davidson is going to demote him all the way from a potential top 5 back to 10th. That's pretty clearly, I think, his worst result of the season. He's 3rd in points. Not at all what he wants to see, but it is exactly what Ryan Whitlock wants to see to try and gain some points on him. So we'll get our results pulled up for you tonight for the race, the Grand Prix of Brazil at Interlagos. And finally, after 12 races of trying and 12 races of frustration, our Muhammad Ali beats Jordan Johnson fair and square and takes the win tonight. Jordan Johnson will take 2nd with Edwin Onofre in 3rd from the University of North Texas as our alumni winner. Benjamin Fiore from Marist College will finish 4th with Lucas Moody, also of Ball State, in 5th. Ryan Whitlock for Alabama Huntsville will finish 6th with Bradley Skinker of Ball State in 7th. Christian Hill, the alumni from Mount St. Mary's, will take 8th with Mark Turek, the alumni from PCT, in 9th. Cale Davidson of Ball State will finish this race in 10th, with Andrew Burrell of Clemson in 11th, and Aiken Lamar of the Howard Community College, who will round out our race tonight in 12th. An exciting one for sure. Our Muhammad Ali made that race special for pretty much the entire ending there of the season. But while our Muhammad Ali has won the race, Jordan Johnson will be your title winner. So Jordan Johnson, while finishing 2nd, will win the title this season, with our Muhammad Ali having clinched 2nd, and I believe Cale Davidson having clinched 3rd. The battle for 4th is still open between Edwin Onofre and Ryan Whitlock, and I believe potentially Bradley Skinker as well, for that 4th position. They're kind of all in that battle for 4th through 6th there with Lucas Moody, who's probably locked up 7th over Luis Diaz of FIU. So we'll get these drivers up in the booth. We'll get ready for some interviews here tonight. And while we're doing that, we're going to call up our 3rd place finisher, Edwin Onofre. Hey, Edwin.
So how you doing?
Congrats on not just the podium tonight, but the alumni win and the alumni championship.
It's definitely a surprise to be here, but it's a huge honor. Thank you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably your best run that you've had all season. Was a really clean race. Walk us through that podium finish for you.
So the first thing I want to point out is that I noticed that the Cadillac actually did a lot better in the rain conditions than the Acuras. I saw the Acuras get a lot of speed on the straightaways, but once it comes to the corners, that's where we caught up. I believe that's why Alif ended up winning the race, not because just because of speed, but also because he had the advantage on the wets over the course of the run. And congrats to him, by the way. Good job on getting around Johnson. But yeah, the setup was actually incredibly stable throughout the run. I did struggle the first few laps. Obviously, it's cold tires, but I had a little bit more oversteer than usual. So I just had to take it slow, and I ended up slowing some of my competitors down as a result. My bad on that. I own up to that. But I did try my best to keep it stable and not to cause a giant wreck. But other than that, I just had to take it easy on the tires, take it easy on the track, and I'm going to be honest, Interlagos is not one of my better courses. I am more surprised that I got podium, but hey, can't complain about it.
No, we saw some really good battles there with you. I believe you were going at it with Fiore and Whitlock over the course of the race. How were those in the rain? Because we haven't had many rain races in this car.
I just took it a lot more simpler I just took it more cautious than when I normally race because with the spray, visibility makes it a hard factor to see your braking points. So you got to back up sometimes when you're approaching a car because you don't know where they're gonna brake as a result because of the wet weather. So I just took it cautiously, and yeah, I'm more surprised at the fact that Ryan decided to pit early. Now I can see he was going for, but I think he did not take into account the other cars that he was going to end up behind once he got a pit road and didn't get a good finish as a result. But I just played it patiently with the other cars, such as Ben Fiore and Bradley Skinker and K.L. Davidson as well. But as a result, we were able to get past them after the course of the run. And yep, that's how we ended up getting podium.
All right. You got anyone you want to shout out on the broadcast tonight?
Shout out to Ross Chastain. Shout out to Daniel Suarez. Shout out to Bob Popkris, who I just took a selfie with when I went to Denton today, actually earlier, to get some photos, get some selfies, and get some autographs. Shout out to those three guys. I'm big fans of them, and I hope to see them at Texas Motor Speedway. Which, by the way, I am going to the Texas race. If anybody wants to see me there, hit me up. Let's try to get the group to promote CIL over there. But besides that, I also like to thank you guys for putting on this race, relatively current race. So shout out to all the competitors as well. Shout out to my coworkers at Discount Tire. Shout out to all my classmates and professors and all faculty and staff at the University of North Texas. And a shout out to all the people who are watching this right now. I appreciate you guys sticking it around. Hope you enjoyed the race.
Damn, if I knew where they were in Denton, I would have skipped class today. Congrats on the third place finish, Edwin and Oprah.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to work on calling up our second place finisher and our series champion, Jordan Johnson, into the booth here. Hey, Jordan. Congrats on not just the second place finish tonight, but also the overall championship for the series.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pretty good race. I think the Acura just struggled a little bit more than O'Leaf. He had so much low speed. But no, it's been great. It's been a great championship all around, and I felt really, really strong with the prototypes. Obviously, the Ball State guys have been pushing to catch up a little bit as they've gotten a little bit closer throughout the season. But no, it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we saw that. I mean, that was like a half-hour-long battle you had with the Leaf there, trying to hold him off. What was that like?
I'll be honest, I was jamming to music. I was driving like a grandma. I knew I really just kind of had to run my race. In the wet, it's so easy to just run the wrong line, and most of the time, if you send the inside, it's really hard to make the move stick. So I just kind of was running what I needed to do, and I was watching out for send so I could take the wide line, carry the momentum, and if it looked like a Leaf was going in a little too hot, then I just committed to the cutback and took the power out, which, I mean, it worked for pretty much most of the race until my front end was completely gone, and I just couldn't get the car turned.
Yeah, I mean, we saw with these wet conditions in some of the races this season, we feel like we've seen a lot more defending. Cars kind of able to make moves and able to defend all over the track. Do you think the rain racing kind of opens up those options?
I think it does, but not because of the rain. I think it's because things are fresh and new. A lot of people are inexperienced in the rain or haven't learned how to optimize it, and of course they haven't spent years driving in it like we have in the drive for iRacing. So I think it more comes down to a larger variability and a larger variance in the drivers, rather than the rain specifically, because admittedly passing in the rain, especially against two people that really know how to drive, it's really, really hard. It's near impossible without having some kind of contact, especially when you guys have both figured out the line. Interlagos is a little bit of an exception. There are some corners where you can take multiple lines, but yeah, I think really the variance and each driver's wet driving has really kind of played into that.
All right, and you got anyone you want to shout out on the broadcast?
Yeah, of course, my team, Apex Racing Academy, and all of our sponsors and partners, the Apex Racing Team, SDK, VRS, and Computer PC Systems, Stormforce Gaming, just supporting us all the way through and making our dreams possible. We've had a lot of success with them and just hope to continue throughout the future.
All right, congrats on the series championship and second place finish, Jordan Johnson.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we're going to get our race winner, our Muhammad Alif, in the booth here coming up. Hey, Alif.
Hello.
congratulations on finally beating Jordan Johnson in a clean race there. How does it feel?
Yeah, it was good. No stewards needed this time. Very happy with that. Also, second win in the wets. It's very satisfying. Yeah, kept it clean. There was no need to. There was a few 0x, but it still kept it clean, and yeah, super happy with the win.
Yeah, I mean, we saw you trying to get around him for what looked like about half an hour there. Walk us through that battle and how you finally made that pass.
For some reason, I was very calm, attacking him, just trying to find opportunities, seeing where he was slower, and then just attacking there. I think that's what eventually got us the position, just sending it around the outside of I'm not sure what, it's like a left, slow left, long left. So yeah, the whole race was like playing chess, honestly. I think the most critical thing was that I didn't lose time in the pit stops, even though Jordan gained 2 seconds within the pits. Like I can see here that he probably underfueled his car. So even then, I could still pull out a reasonable gap and not avoid the overcut. So yeah, super proud of that. Super happy with that. And yeah, GG.
Yeah, we heard from I think both Edwin Onofre and Jordan Johnson mentioned that the Cadillac felt a lot more even with the Acura in the wet. Do you think that's the case for this car? Do you think this car kind of excels more in the wet races?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree that the wet weather is like a good equalizer. We had 2 races in the wets, and both races were very close. So I think this one, either one of us could have won. But yeah, I think it's true. Just because of the differences with the Caddy and the Acura, like the Acura is very good on mid to high speed corners, but the Caddy is better in the slower speed corners. So glad we put that into good use and got past Jordan and got the win.
All right. You got anyone you want to thank on the broadcast?
Yeah, my whole team, road team, Kale, Bradley, Lucas, especially as well as my oval team, who we are trying to go for the championship in the NASCAR Cup Series. So we got Daniel Nenny, Andrew Steggy, Ben, and Kelton, who's our oval team, and then we have Dean Turner, who's in charge of the whole program. Dan Marino, who's our director for esports, and BK, who's our assistant director, and the whole esports program here in Ball State. My sponsors, Motorsport Singapore, we have Axel Sports, Next Level Racing, Sports Singapore for all their support, and yeah, my family back at home. Yeah, very happy with that.
All right. Congrats on the win, Muhammad Ali.
Thank you.
All right, and looking ahead, we'll get one more look at our race results here coming up soon, with Muhammad Ali winning that race, his 3rd win of the season over Jordan Johnson. He'll win in that Ball State machine. Jordan Johnson of Kent State in 2nd. Edwin Onofre, the alumni winner from the University of North Texas, in 3rd, with Ben Fiore of Marist in 5th. Lucas Moody of Ball State in 5th, with Ryan Whitlock of Alabama Huntsville in 6th. Bradley Skinker of Ball State 7th, with Christian Hill of Mount St. Mary's in 8th, and Mark Turek of the Penn College of Technology in 9th. Cale Davidson from Ball State will bring it home 10th, with Andrew Burrell of Clemson in 11th, and Aiken Lamar of the Howard Community College in 12th. Next up in the CIL, it's championship week for all 3 of our series. We've got the Cup Series playoffs going on, and the finale will take us to Kansas Speedway for the championship race Monday, April 15th, same time as always, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and we'll get to see that battle play out between, I believe it is Matthew Morton. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm looking at the wrong standings. I believe it is Matthew Morton, Daniel Nanny, Zach DeWale, and Muhammad Ali. We're going to round that one out for the championship there. So a great fight will be put on in the Cup Series. Looking ahead to the Formula College Series, where Muhammad Ali has already locked up the title. April 17th, they're racing at Interlagos for their finale. One more time, same racetrack we raced at tonight, and it'll be a fun one in a series that never seems to disappoint. And last race of the College Prototype Challenge inaugural season. We're going to Road America next Thursday for not just the final race of the Prototype Challenge, but the final race of all of CIL for the spring semester. We're putting on a 90-minute endurance race from Road Atlanta on the next Thursday, same time as always. You won't want to miss it because it's going to be a fun one to decide some of these lower point standings in the CIL. Thank you for watching tonight's race, the Brazilian Grand Prix from Interlagos. It's been a really fun one. I've had a great time. Great battle all racing. Congrats not just to our race winner, our Muhammad Alif, but to our series overall champion, Jordan Johnson. Good night.